Hello, hello, hello. Good evening, everyone. Welcome back to the show. Whew, it has been an interesting weekend. So Memorial Day weekend. This is Dr. Dwain Woode. If you're new to the show, that's Woode with an E. The E stands for endocrinology. And here on this show, we help to educate, empower, and encourage you to take charge of your health and your life, avoid complications, and live that healthy, fulfilling life you want, going to the next level. I'm excited tonight because I am joined by a very special guest, and you see her. We are on the same screen tonight. This is my lovely wife, Dr. Charmaine Woode. Charmaine, welcome.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone.
If you are new to our show as well, go ahead and put new in the comments because we'd love to welcome you to our show. If you have questions as we get throughout the night, please go ahead and put those in the comments because we love to get to those, and we'll take those especially off the side and be able to answer those. So thank you for being here. So welcome. I think I see someone out there already.
Awesome.
Let's see. Lauren. Hey, Lauren, how are you? Welcome this evening. She says, good evening, Woode family. Dr. C looks stunning.
Thank you, Lauren. Thank you.
Yes, she does. So once again, good evening. If you're new, go ahead and put those in the comment. We are talking about a very special topic tonight. We've been talking, the end of last year, the beginning of this year, about setting goals, about routines and habits and so forth. And we are now almost 6 months into the year, right? We are halfway through, going to be halfway through next month.
Yeah.
And right now, a lot of people are sitting and they're thinking, hey, I've really not been doing all the things that I said I was going to do. And I was looking up a statistic. You may have seen that in the advertisement for the show, that about 50% of people will set some kind of New Year's resolution. That's a lot of folks.
Good number.
Yeah. And I think it's only 23% that are people who have done one. Right? So when I say done one, been consistent doing it. A lot of people do them. They do them January, February, March. They kind of fall off. At the end of the year, they maybe pick up again. But being consistent, it's only a very small percentage of people. And so we want to talk tonight about it. Well, how do you really get back on track? That's the focus of our discussion tonight. And Dr. Charmaine is here to help us to have that discussion. So glad that you're here.
Thank you. Happy to be here, as always.
As you guys know, I always do a shout out, and tonight I am shouting out Auburn. Now, there are some of you out there that will get on me, but hey, that's okay. We're wearing all the shirts. We're from Alabama, and so my goal is to wear a shirt from Alabama as consistently. When we finish Alabama, then we go to other states, right? But we're starting right here, and you may also see me wearing shirts for different establishments around town here and in Alabama. I wore Top Golf and the Jesse Owens Museum. I wore their shirt a couple of months ago, actually. So anyway, so if you got a shirt, you want me to wear it, hey, I'm happy to do that. So why don't we go ahead and just jump right into the topic?
Okay, sure.
Okay, so I know that there are so many things at the end of last year that I wanted to do. There are things that I said, okay, I'm going to do this. And I sat down, came up with a list. We even started, last year was the first time that we did a vision board, wasn't it? Last year we did a vision board. This year we had a vision board party with our team. And so we all sat down and came up with those vision boards and the things that we wanted to do. And I have to say there are a couple of things, several things that are on my board that I'm not doing right now. So how do people feel when these things are going on, when they've set a goal and all of a sudden they realize that they're not doing that?
Well, unfortunately, I think a lot of people feel like they're failures, right? If you set a commitment, you set a goal, and somewhere along the line you fall off and you do not achieve that goal, we tend to feel like failures. And, I think it's important to realize that you may get off track. You may get sidetracked. Things may happen. You may get derailed. but you can pick right back up and keep going. You don't have to see failure as final.
So failure is not final. I think a lot of people feel that way, that I failed, and so that's it for the year.
Right. So there's no more. There's no more I can do. But what we hope people get from the show tonight is that you can keep going, and you don't have to see failure as final. You could actually see failure as failing forward. That's a concept that's fairly popular. You'll hear that in society, people talk about failing forward. And we want to help people fail forward. And even better, not even think of it as a failure at all.
Oh wow, that's an empowering concept. I guess we'll get into that a little bit more. Yeah. That failure, is not necessarily failure. Okay, yeah, we'll come to that. Well, so I know we have talked, and we try not to necessarily use this term New Year's resolution. Okay, what would you like people to begin thinking and using instead of New Year's resolution? What do you think is a better term or a better phrase?
I think there's several phrases that people can use. You can simply say, I set a goal for myself. It doesn't have to be specific to the new year. Just, I set a goal, or I have a dream, or I've created this vision for myself. So lots of different ways to express the same desire that I think that are effective, or even more so effective. Having a New Year's resolution gives someone the idea that, okay, I can only decide I want this at the new year.
At the new year.
And it's available to them throughout all 12 months of the year, 365 days.
Right.
So it's not something that we have to limit to January 1st or the first part of January.
Okay, yeah. And in fact, New Year's resolutions are almost, I mean, it's almost the butt of a joke, right? So, oh, you made that New Year's resolution kind of thing that people know, well, this is not going to last. And it almost has that connotation that, yeah, you made that, but we're not really holding you to that, or you're not holding yourself to that. So that's a big thing.
Right.
So the most common, as I was kind of preparing for this show, the most common resolutions that people make, and in our terms, the most common decisions that they make, have to do with losing weight, eating healthier, saving money, connecting with family, friends, right? So community, and the last one is just kind of being a better person. So those are the most common, which are some pretty lofty and important goals.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, I mean, you're talking about improving oneself or making a decision to make your life better. And I think those are important goals. I think without setting goals or setting visions or even resolutions like that, then life can become pretty humdrum.
Yeah. Okay, all right. So I'm going along. So I've created this goal for the year. Okay, so this list of goals. I've got 3, 4, 5. And I'm going through the year: January, February, March, April, May, June. How do I know if I've gotten off track? How do I know that I'm no longer with that goal?
Well, I think it's pretty simple. But it can take people a while to recognize that, okay, I said I was going to do this, but I'm no longer doing it. Particularly if you're not tracking it in some way. And, maybe we'll talk a little bit later about the importance of tracking.
Right.
So if you're not paying attention, if you're not tracking it, it could be a while before you actually recognize that, hey, I'm kind of off track here. What's going on. But I would say, depending on what the goal is, for example, if you set a goal to exercise every day, right? The day you miss exercising, right? So if you've been doing it every day, the day you miss it, I would consider that to be getting off track.
Okay. All right.
So it could be as simple as that.
Right. Well, Well, what are some common reasons then that people may get off track? I mean, so we're talking. Okay, so now I'm aware that I'm off track, and I'm like, oh my goodness, how did that happen? What are some common reasons why people may get off track?
Oh, it could be anything. Let's just say we're talking about exercising, because I mentioned that. It could mean that, maybe there was bad weather. So there are things that happen outside of our control that make us or lead us to get off track. So it could be bad weather, it could be car trouble, it could be the gym. If you decided you were going to exercise in a gym, it could be the gym closing. It could be one morning you're just very tired. You went to bed late and you didn't wake up when you said you were going to, in order to get to the gym and then before starting the other activities of your day. So it could be a number of things.
Right. I remember years ago when we lived in Birmingham, I actually was exercising with a couple of people. And there was one day, I called up one of the people I was exercising. I was like, hey, I'll meet you there. And they were like, well, it's cold. I think it was one of those days that was really, really cold. And we decided that day we weren't going to go. And do you know that with that group, I don't think we ever went back. I mean, like ever. So you're right. I mean, there are all these things that happen that kind of can throw us off the schedule that are unanticipated. Okay, all right. So unanticipated things, things that I don't think about, things that haven't been in my plan. Should I expect that whatever my goals are, they're going to go off without a hitch?
Oh, I think that if you expect that, you're actually setting yourself up for disappointment. So it's important to understand that life happens to all of us. We should expect the unexpected, is what I like to say. And that means that something's going to happen, something's going to get in the way of you sticking to that routine or sticking to that new habit you said you wanted to develop. Something's going to get in the way, and you should expect that.
Okay, all right. Should we almost, I don't know if I'm jumping ahead of our conversation here, but should we almost build that into our plan for those goals?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. If you can anticipate certain things that could get in the way, then you can create a plan so that if and when that happens, you have a way to deal with it and to keep yourself from getting off track, or if you do get off track, to get back on track as soon as possible.
Right. Well, so why... I'm going to use myself as an example, right? So if there is a goal that I have, that I sat down at the end of last year, beginning of this year, that I said, okay, this is what I want to do. And theoretically, right, it's an important goal for me, and I've gotten off track. What are some reasons why people don't get back on track?
Well, I think some of the reasons they don't get back on track is they didn't expect it. They didn't plan for it. When it happened, perhaps they felt overwhelmed. There could be any number of reasons, as we discussed, that you can get off track. So depending on the scale of the interruption, or on how large whatever it is that's occurred to get you off track, depending on how big it is, if you don't have the skills to get yourself back on track, if you don't have the skills to solve whatever issue it is, it can definitely get you off track and keep you off track. Okay. Some of the other things maybe could be some of the things you say to yourself. So there are external, we can call them barriers or challenges. There are also a lot of internal things, barriers or challenges. Some of the things we say to ourselves when we get off track, If we are harsh on ourselves, if we're very critical, if we say unkind things, then that does not motivate us to get back on track. Right? So whenever you get off track, it's important to accept that you are off track without judging yourself too harshly. Show yourself some grace. Don't fall into the trap of beating yourself up, because that's not motivating. So think of the difference between telling yourself, "Oh man, I knew you couldn't do it. There you go again. I don't even know why you bother." Compare that to saying something like, "Okay, I know you're off track, but you can get back on track and accomplish your goal." So do you see the difference?
Yeah, I do. So basically, self-talk.
Yes.
And self-motivation. Okay, very good. Let's pause right here for a minute and let's have a little station identification. Hey guys, you're here on our show that is live every Monday night. So glad that you are here. If you're out there, please go ahead and put in your calendar that, hey, we're going to be with Dr. Woode on Mondays. We've got exclusive health and wellness conversations that we have. We've got great guests, as you see that we have tonight. Dr. Charmaine Woode here with us. Always glad when she's here. If you've not already done so, go ahead and check us out on all of our social media platforms. If you looked at our Instagram, you saw that we went to the zoo and had a wonderful time out there. And you can check all of our social platforms out, that you'll see lots of different items, different things that are there. Okay. Also a big plug for our coaching program, right? So we are in the process of helping people become unstuck. If you feel like you're stuck, people may be stuck in lots of different areas, in their health, in their goals, right? As we're talking about tonight, and you need someone to help you get through those barriers. We believe that people come whole and complete and are able to generate solutions for problems, but there are things that are kind of holding them back, and we help to break down some of those as we go through our coaching program. So please go ahead, go to our website, dwainwoodmd.com, book a consult with us, and we would love to be able to work with you. Awesome. All right, so back to our conversation with Dr. Charmaine Woode, who is here and talking with us about getting back on track. Actually, before we do that, I do see Dr. Audwin Nelson is out there. So Dr. Nelson, thank you for stopping by. And he says, I love the discussion. I'm glad that you are here. So, all right. So we've made these goals. We've gotten away from quote unquote New Year's resolutions. We have a list of things that we want to do. We're almost 6 months in now, and we notice that we're off track. And there are lots of reasons why we don't get off track. And you just recently just commented that sometimes it's because we're harsh with ourselves. You can't do that, or, oh, this is too hard, or some of those words or those thoughts that we have. And by the way, guys, remember that your brain, your thoughts, your mind will believe anything that you tell it. And so if you tell it that something is hard, guess what? It will find evidence to support that. If you tell it that you can't do something, that somebody's better at something than you are, then it will find things to support that, even to the point of making you feel like you are tired or you're in pain or whatever it is, so that you can't you can't do that thing. Okay? So begin feeding your mind a constant diet of the success that you want, of the dreams that you want, of the goals that you've set for yourself, so that you can be successful as we get into this new year. Awesome. Okay. So accept that we're going to get off track. Now, that is a hard one for some people, because they expect that I've set these goals, and by God, I've made the decision and I'm going to do it. So how do you first overcome that thought process?
Well, I think it's just understanding that we're all human beings living a human experience, which means that life is not perfect, that things are not going to go as planned. but also understanding that we have the wisdom, we have the power, we have the resources available to us in order to get back on track to achieve those goals.
Wow. Okay. Good. I like it. All right. So, so I've not been on track, right? So I'm not going to say I failed. So I've not been on track. I suppose a lot of what we have been talking about and talking to people about is really a change in mindset. So if I've gotten off track, is there a certain way that I could think about this that helps me in the process of getting back?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. So if you don't beat yourself up when you get off track, right? And you see the challenges. So whatever threw you off track, if you see it as a barrier, as a challenge, versus seeing it as an opportunity to problem solve, to learn more about yourself, to figure out ways to bring forth or to grow your resilience and your perseverance and all of those things that make you a better person, then your experience is completely different. So it's a shifting of perspective along with shifting how we think about what's happening and how you think about yourself in the process.
Wow. So changing the mind, changing the feeling, changing the behavior, and changing the result.
Exactly.
That's an amazing. That one keeps coming up. That whole process. Maybe one day we'll have the author of that come on. Okay. So there was a reason that I decided I wanted to do whatever it is, whatever the goal is. Is it important for that to be present of mind, for that to be a part of my discussion as I talk about getting back on track?
Yeah, I think that's a critical part of helping yourself get back on track. Just reflecting on why you started this journey in the first place. So why is that important to you? If you accomplish your goal, how is your life going to be different? What's the impact on you and those around you? So just having that sit in your spirit for a while, just kind of sitting with that reason helps you pick up and keep moving because you recognize how important it is.
Oh, wow. So there is a benefit to the goal. So realizing, remembering, if you will, embracing, making a part of you whatever that reason was. So it could be financial freedom, right? So people, well, like we said, one of the reasons that people set goals is financial. So financial freedom, building a legacy for the family, getting out of debt, buying a house, whatever the reason. So connecting to that reason helps. If it's a weight problem, people want to lose weight, lots of reasons, right? I want to look good. Oh, here's a big one. I want to fit into that dress, right? Because my daughter or my cousin is getting married next month or next year, right? So that's a reason that people have. Or my doctor told me that my blood sugars are high, or I'm at risk for certain disease processes. And so people want to take charge of their health. And certainly, as we've learned from COVID, that a lot of us didn't realize how much we enjoyed being a part of a community until we had to come away from that community. And so reconnecting, developing friendships, one of my goals, just to throw that out there, was to be more intentional about connecting to some people in my life. Once again, that was one of those goals that I had to revamp and redo. A couple of people I sent text out to at the beginning of the year say, hey man, I'd like for us to do a better job this year. And, February came and the beginning of March I say, hey, wait a minute. So I sent those texts out again. Hey, how are you doing? How can we connect? How can we do, so certainly connecting to the reason, very, very important.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Because there are times, and we talked about why people may fall off track or get off track, there are times when there's nothing major going on, but we're just tired. And maybe this helps push us through that to be able to get back on track.
Right. Sometimes we're just preoccupied just with life in general. And so like you said, it may not be anything major. It doesn't have to be a major illness, or it doesn't have to be a major loss, but just life in general. And so, you'll hear me say a lot of times, well, life just gets in the way.
Right.
But as we set these goals, one of the ways we set goals is with intentionality, right? And we set specific goals. We set maybe some milestones that we can measure along the way so that we know how we're moving toward those goals. And those are all things we can take a look at to know whether or not, to see how we're doing, whether or not we're getting off track.
Right. Now, at the beginning of the year, we did a show with Miss Cynthia Timpson-Brain, and we talked about SMART goals. So if you've not watched that show, go back and look at that. We'll put that in one of the cards as we go through this show. But that's a good one in setting big goals for 2022. Now, you mentioned earlier that failure, right, may not be a failure. Tell me a little bit more about that. What did you mean by that?
Well, so I always like to look at the bright side. I am an eternal optimist. So one of the things I have learned to do is just to try to learn from every situation. It doesn't matter what it is. So if I can learn from a situation, then I do not see that as failure. I don't consider anything failure unless I quit, unless I give up. All right. So if you've gotten off track, then you want to take a look at what you can learn. You can learn perhaps what the triggers were to getting you off track. You can learn about the barriers that came up, and we're wanting to see barriers as opportunities. So look at those opportunities that came up, opportunities for us to improve how we do things, for opportunities for us to learn about ourselves, opportunities for us to just see our circumstances differently, opportunities for us to problem solve. So there are lots of opportunities and lots of learnings to be had during this entire experience of getting off and getting back on track.
Right. I love what you said. And I think, was it today or yesterday, I was listening to a video that Kobe Bryant did, an interview. And he said that there is no failure, just like you said, unless you give up. Right. So there's always a process. There's always learning. There's always something that can be gained from, quote unquote, that failure. One of the things that I tell Sean, a while ago, what we were talking about, the light bulb, and how many times we had a unsuccessful light bulb before we got a light bulb. But each of those was an example of how not to do that, right? So as we're going through and we're doing different things and we're setting these goals, if we're, quote unquote, unsuccessful, now we know that that's not the way to do it. So we adjust, we change, and we do something else. We'll talk a little bit more about that.
Well, I love the story that's often quoted about Michael Jordan, and how he talks about how many times he missed, the buzzer shots, right? So we talk about how many times he made it. Right. And it was so awesome. And we talk about him playing with the flu and, how he won that, how he helped his team win that game. But he lets us know that there are many times he missed the goal.
Right. Yeah.
But he never gave up.
Never gave up.
And that's ultimately what led him to become successful.
Wow. And by the way, I have the video of that game that he played when they were holding him as he was going back to the bench. That was an amazing game. So anyway, that's a whole nother story. We'll do a different show on that. one of the things that we probably need to do at some point is come back and talk about, we mentioned it briefly, SMART goals. Okay, and once again, setting goals, and how do we go about setting goals? So very, very good for us to come back and talk about that. So guys, if you are out there, once again, please go ahead and if you've not already done so, like our video and share this one with family, friends. It's a very important concept, very important discussion to have. Like I said, we are almost halfway through the year, and there are people even right now that may be sitting and deciding whether they're going to push through or whether they're going to just, okay, let's throw in the towel and let's pick this up again at the beginning of the year, right? And we don't want you to do that. Let me say that again. That's not what we want you to do. It's a very important discussion for them. Remember that we are here on Monday night, so please put that in your calendar. And then constantly we want to remind you that we would love to engage with you, DwainWoodMD.com, to begin doing some coaching with us. Okay. So looking at challenges as an opportunity. Let's talk a little bit more about that. Right now I'm feeling down. I've not achieved it. What opportunities could there be in this situation? Right. Somebody sitting out there, they're wondering that right now.
Right. So of course, each situation is going to be unique, right? But you want to look at what the goal is. You want to look at why you set out to achieve that goal. You want to look at the results that you're wanting to create with the goal that you set, and look at ways that you can problem solve when things come up. I think one of the things we can settle into is when situations arise, we see things as a lost cause. And this may be being a little bit redundant, but I think it's important for us to see the challenges as an opportunity and troubleshoot ways that we can overcome whatever the challenge is so that we can ultimately accomplish the goal. So you got to believe that you have the resources, that you have that your desire is strong enough, that your why is strong enough. And when you see it as an opportunity, you can embrace whatever life throws at you. You can say, bring it on, and know that you're going to tackle it, and that in the end, you're going to be victorious. You're going to be successful.
Right. Wow. Okay. So I love that. I love that idea of bring it on that you just mentioned. Sometimes we see something happen, and it really kind of, kind of throws us. Excuse me there. And it kind of throws us, and if we're not careful, that derails us. And one of the things that I'm beginning to see is that sometimes it doesn't just derail us for the current goal, right? We become so discouraged that all goals now become a problem for us.
Well, what you're describing is that you lose confidence, right? So you lose. So if you're not successful at one thing and you believe that, okay, I can't do it, then you lose the confidence to try other things.
Okay.
Right? And the opposite is true. If you can work through this challenge or opportunity, when something else comes up, you're more able to embrace it and work through it because you have the evidence that you've overcome difficult things in the past.
Okay. So using the past as fuel, if you will, to get me through this one, because I say, hey, I've not maybe done this thing, but I've been successful in the past at doing other things. And I have the capacity, I have the ability, I have the creativity, if you will, to be able to do that.
Yeah, I think too often we use our past against us instead of using it as fuel, like you mentioned.
Okay. Yeah. Kind of, this is what happened to me in the past, this bad thing. But not realizing sometimes that there are, within the bad, there are some things that we have gained. And in fact, some of the strengths that we have were because of the things we had to overcome in the past.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. All right. What else? What else can you give us a little bit more, something that we can hold on to, an example, a parable, if you will.
Well, we talked about one of the common goals people set at the beginning of the year is exercising, right? So we wanna exercise more. So let's just say, for example, that you decide at the beginning of the year, I'm gonna exercise more. You join a gym. You start waking up early to go to exercise, and then in February a snowstorm hits. Okay, so a snowstorm hits, and you live in a place like Huntsville, Alabama, where everything shuts down. The local government says don't get out on the street if you don't have to, right? And if this is a fairly new habit or new routine you're incorporating into your life, you may have been just really struggling all along, and every morning, it's like, okay, you're having to recommit to doing it. So the snowstorm comes, and it's an excuse not to go. Right? So you decide, okay, I don't have to go to the gym today. And, maybe it's a really bad snowstorm. So that lasts for a couple of days. And you don't go to the gym. But when the roads improve and you can go, you've kind of gotten out of the routine of going. And so you kind of set back in your old ways. You're gotten accustomed to maybe waking up a little bit later. It's cold. Who doesn't want to stay? Who doesn't want to stay bundled up in a cozy warm bed?
Right.
So you fall back into that routine, or fall out of the routine of getting up early and going, and then before you know it, several days have passed and you have not gone to the gym and you have not exercised. Well, if you forget that your goal is to incorporate exercise, or limit yourself to exercising only in a gym, right? So you have to think about what the true goal is. Is the true goal to go to the gym, or is the true goal to incorporate more exercise?
Right.
Right? So if you limit exercise only to the gym, then once you get out of the routine, get out of the habit of doing so, then it's easy to just kind of fall back to your old ways. But what I would suggest is, when that snowstorm or that challenge, that opportunity, right, to overcome something arises, then really look at what the true goal is. And if it's the exercise, instead of saying, I can't go to the gym because it's snowing, think this way instead. So think these thoughts instead. Well, it's snowing. I'm not able to go to the gym. What else can I do so that I can exercise, so that I can continue working toward this goal?
Okay.
Right? So when you say what else I can do, then your mind opens up and solutions come to you.
Begin to come. Wow.
Right? And so lots of opportunities for you to still get exercise apart from going to the gym. It could be something as simple as just making sure you're stretching for a few minutes each day, so you're still moving your body. It could mean that you're doing jumping jacks, that you're doing you're jumping rope. It could mean that you're even maybe taking the clothes off the treadmill and using the treadmill as it was intended.
Right.
Right?
Not a clothes rack.
So you have to shift from thinking about doing things perfectly, so just doing them consistently. So exercising in the gym is an example of perfection. But just getting the exercise is how you would stay consistent. So problem solving and just looking at things a little bit differently and finding some other solutions.
Oh, I love that. All right. So at the beginning of this discussion, we talked about the fact that people don't anticipate that they're going to get off track, right? So when it happens, it's kind of like this surprise, and so it catches them off guard. Talk to us a little bit about in the process of coming up with your goals. How do I think about the fact that I may get off track?
Well, I think you can, as you're creating your goal, as you're kind of crafting your plan to achieve your goal, think about things that can happen along the way that can potentially derail you. Of course, depending on the goal, the situation is going to be different, or the things that could get in the way is going to be different. But if we're thinking about the exercise one, and I may have mentioned already that perhaps the gym closed, right? The gym is closed for the day.
Right.
So what do you do when you get that alert on your phone that, sorry for the inconvenience, we're not going to be open today, right? So if you have planned in advance that if I'm not able to go to the gym, these are the ways I can get my exercise. I can go for a walk. If you don't want to leave the house, these are things I can do. If you've got stairs, if you've got stairs, then you can, go up and down the stairs and get the exercise. You could perhaps, if it's cold outside, you could go walking in the mall. So lots of ways for you to still accomplish your goal if there are barriers or opportunities, that come up.
I love that. So planning that, okay, this is going to happen, and having a strategy.
Yes.
That kind of gets you back there. Now, one of the things that I know about getting back on track, right? We've talked about the fact that sometimes we don't anticipate it, so it catches us off guard. We don't have a plan for getting back on track, so it makes it difficult. But the other thing that sometimes will make it a little difficult is that we think that we've got to start back at the beginning of the goal, or whatever it is that we're doing, whether it's losing weight or getting better blood sugars or saving money, or we think, okay, oh my God, I got to start all over again.
Well, no. So if you think of just, starting right where you are, or maybe the word starting is what throws people off. So why don't we choose a different word? How about continue?
Okay.
Right? We can choose the word, we can recommit, we can continue, we can resume.
Okay.
Right? So those are all different ways to think about what we're doing if the concept of starting is too intimidating, or the concept of restarting is maybe brings with it some shame, some disappointment.
Right.
So we can just think differently about what we're doing.
Okay. Picking back up.
Picking back or getting back on track.
So all of these thoughts, I love it. So we're going to come back in a minute and talk a little bit more about this. But right now, let's go ahead and let's have our thought of the day. Hey guys, thought of the day. So yesterday, an interesting thing happened to me. Like I said, we went to the zoo, and we were down at the Birmingham Zoo. We were in the store, and I was talking to the young lady behind the counter because I was buying a shirt, which I'm going to wear not today, but at some point, right? And I was wearing an LSU hat. Sorry, it's not LSU. Sorry, Lakers. I said LSU. I was wearing a Lakers hat, okay? And I didn't remember I was wearing the Lakers hat. And so the young lady commented that she liked my hat. I thought I had a different hat on. So I started talking to her about the hat I had on, right? Because I thought I had the hat where we went to Diamond Head in Hawaii and we had hiked. And so I thought that was the hat I had on. And so I was telling her this story about going to Hawaii and hiking and my family being with us. And, Blake and my wife, Charmaine, were there. So I pointed them out. And she was kind of looking at me oddly, right? And so we left the store and came home. And this morning we were getting ready to go for a walk. And I went into the closet and I grabbed the hat and I put the hat on. And it wasn't until I was putting the hat on that it struck me that this was not the hat that I was wearing yesterday, that I was wearing the Lakers hat. And I thought I was projecting a particular thing, but she was seeing something completely different. And it's amazing to me that sometimes we think that we're giving the world a particular part of us, a particular sense of us, a particular feeling about us, but they're actually seeing something different. And we wonder why sometimes we find ourselves in either conflict or difficult situations. And it could be that the message, the signal, the thought, the ideas, the feel that we're giving, that we think we're giving, is not really what's happening. And so there's this interesting concept, this interesting thought about what the world sees and who we are being congruent, right? That's the true us. What the world sees that's different from us. What the world thinks they're getting and what we're giving, which are opposites. And what we want to do is we want to be true to who we are. We want the world to get who we are, what we are, and the benefits that come with that. And so one way to begin working on that, talk to your folks around you, talk to your friends, ask them, hey, I've been working on myself. I am interested in being a better person. I'm interested in connecting. I'm interested in giving more to my community, to my world. When you think about me, what do you think? And ask them to be honest, right? Say, hey, I really am interested in improving myself. When you think of me, what do you think? You got to be open though, because you may or may not hear some things that you don't like, okay? So ask those people around you, hey, what do you think? Begin building your mind, improving yourself. Because as we've said over and over again, our thoughts are what help us to respond in a particular way when something happens. And sometimes the thought that's there makes an automatic response that we really did not intend, right? We say that word, we have that attitude, that smirk on our face, and that's not what we want, but that's what comes out automatically because that's what's in there. So begin feeding. And then the final thing is this. You got to practice it. When they say to you, hey, we think this, right? And once again, these have to be people that are credible, okay? These are credible people that you trust, people that are in your community, maybe some older folks, some people in your church, some of your older family members. And when they say these things to you, begin working on improving so that you don't show up wearing one hat when everyone else is seeing a different hat. That's our thought for this day. All right, so we are back. We're back. So Dr. Charmaine, This has been an interesting discussion. Oh my goodness. And we can go on and on and on about this. And each of the concepts that we talked about, really, we could spend an hour going through that, unpacking it, going deeper. Okay. And when I keep saying, all these things that we talk about, we got to come back and do a show. But I'm so excited that we were able to do this, because really there are people out there that I think would benefit from listening to this show.
Oh, definitely. And we used example of exercise, but getting back on track applies to every single goal that you set for yourself, every vision that you have, every dream that you have. I think if people will listen and apply these principles, that they will see benefit, and that they will see changes. They will see greater consistency in their lives. They will see that they can reach a greater percentage of the goals that they're setting. So I think this has been time well spent.
Time well spent.
Thank you for having me.
I am glad that you are here. Glad that you're here. Now I want to spend a minute talking really about problem solving. Right, problem solving. And I know recently you listened to some things on problem solving, and I want to really just give a couple of steps, right, for problem solving, because problem solving is a good way to begin getting back on track, right? So number one, we talked about SMART goals. So clearly, for whatever the issue is, and we're talking about goals here, but this can apply to any area of your life. You got to define what the problem is. What is the issue, right? What is the issue that you're having, right? Losing weight, controlling blood sugars, staying connected, being consistent, waking up early, exercising, whatever, saving money, whatever it is, you've got to clearly define what the problem is. Number two, come up with options. What are some options that I can use for this issue, for this thing that I'm trying to do, right? So if it's saving money, it could be setting an automatic withdrawal from your account. It could be having a separate bank account. It could be joining a group that's an accountability group, right? Joining an investment program. Right. So all of those things are options. Another option is putting money under your mattress. Right. So we're going to come to that in a minute. I threw that one in just because. Right. So come up with options, and then pick the best solution. That's why I threw the mattress in there. So the best solution for you saving money is not, let me say it, guys and gals, is not for you putting that money under your mattress. Okay. So find the best solution. Okay. And then come up with an action plan, right? So you've looked at the problem, you defined it, you've seen or come up with various options, you've picked one of them, and now let's go about implementing that one. Come up with an action plan for it, and then try it. Don't just come up with the plan and do nothing. Try it. If it doesn't work, guess what? You've got a bunch of other things that you already came up with. Just start one of those and see if it works. So that is your plan for coming up and solving problems. Number one, clearly define the problem. Come up with your options. Pick the best option of the plans, or best plan of the ones you've come up with. Make an action plan and then try it. If it doesn't work, circle back around and try something else. Awesome. Well, guys, I am so happy that you're here. Once again, we are excited when people come. Dr. Charmaine, why don't you take a moment, if you will, and we're always glad when Dr. Charmaine Woode is here, and tell us a little bit about what you're doing, how people can connect with you. Go ahead, share with us.
Okay. So I'm enjoying this season of my life where I am coaching people who want to lose weight, who want to be healthier. They want to live happier in bodies they're comfortable in and bodies they're proud of. And I can be reached at Charmaine Woode, MD. And you have the option to schedule a call with me if you're interested in learning how I can help you. So if you're listening and perhaps you've been struggling with your weight and you've tried lots of different things and you're looking for a permanent weight loss solution, you're not looking for any sort of gimmick or any sort of, lose 5 pounds by tomorrow program, then I would be happy to have a conversation with you and share some of the principles that have helped women in my weight loss program lose weight, keep it off, and become a healthier version of themselves. So Charmaine Woode, MD, is the best way to reach me.
Awesome. Thank you. CharmaineWoodeMD.com, CharmaineWoodeMD.com. Thank you for being here.
Oh, you're welcome. It's always a pleasure.
Always a pleasure. Well, guys, we will see you next week at our next show. Make sure that you come, bring a friend, like this, share it with everyone that you can think of. On this channel, we help to educate, empower, and encourage you to take charge of your health and your life, avoid complications, and live that healthy, fulfilling life that you want, that you're desirous of, and going to the next level. We'll see you next week. Let's get some music and let's get out of here, Dr. Charmaine.